Hello everyone. Thank you for your interest in our article, Coping with International Politics, a case study of Hong Kong. My name is Malte.
And I'm Heidi Wang-Kaeding. This is our video abstract, which provides an overview of our empirical puzzle, main argument, and the theoretical contribution to the literature of emotions in IR.
Let's start. What you just saw, a Hong Kong activist demanding Hong Kong independence, started our investigation. Why did Hong Kong activists take significant personal risk to engage in a state-building process despite the historical legacies, political and geostrategic realities? Even more astonishingly, why was the idea of Hong Kong independence mainstreamed so rapidly? At one point, up to a fifth of the population supports it.
The empirical case study of Hong Kong shows us a stressful political situation, and we see political leaders trying to deal with their various emotions. They are coping. This points us towards two important and yet overlooked questions. Firstly, how do political actors, individuals and collectives, cope with both sudden crisis and long-term change?
And secondly, in the context of international politics, whose coping matters and under what conditions?
In order to answer these questions, this article anchors psychological studies on coping to the literature theorizing emotions in IR. We argue that intersubjective appraisal of urgency from everyday stressors induced by powerful political forces triggers a process that requires individual coping. How individuals deal with stress follows the logic of emotional balancing. In conditions in which emotional well-being orders us to challenge established political arrangements, this becomes extremely important.
Moreover, our individual coping responses are circulating. This means that individual coping is scaled up to collective coping. This is then resulting in the formation of effective communities and, crucially, transforming individual stress responses into collective agency. Let's look at our empirical case study again.
香港獨立成為咗一個好多人討論嘅議題，特別係香港民族黨成立咗之後。我哋認為香港獨立係可以俾到一個新嘅希望香港人，以及係一個新嘅方法去爭取我哋嘅自由。
呢種恐懼令到啲人要一直去反抗，一直去做呢樣嘢，直到去揾到希望。獨立一定係一個希望嚟嘅。
For many Hong Kongers, and especially the Hong Kong localist activists, accelerated socio-economic integration with the mainland China, the so-called mainlandization, is a significant source of everyday stress. In other words, the process of changing Hong Kong into a mainland city is seen as very urgent and generates negative emotions such as anger, fear, contempt, or despair.
Hong Kong localists employ various coping responses, yet the stressor of mainlandization remains, together with negative emotions. However, when they employ a coping response in which the significance of the Chinese government in Hong Kong's democratization process is reappraised, emotional balancing is possible. Localists cope with the status quo by realizing the impossibility of universal suffrage and genuine democracy to Hong Kongers as originally promised. Always looking at how the Beijing regime reacts only creates more negative emotions. Instead, they abandon the idea of democratizing China and focus on an alternative imagination of Hong Kong's future. The importance of the independence issue therefore lies more in its function as a consensus on how to cope, rather than a detailed political plan.
Hong Kong independence is thus empowered with emotional legitimacy within the localist affective community. This draws the boundary of the affective community and consolidates the affective bond among its members. During the scaling up from individual coping to the collective level, Hong Kong independence emerged as an embodiment of hope, a key coping resource. The durability of the independence issue does not lie in its practicality. Instead, the strength of the affective community and the rising political significance of independence resides in the stressor, which is the pressure from the Chinese government. We now would like to highlight our theoretical contribution, which is an innovative coping framework to explore how individual pursuit of well-being is transformed into a collective agency. Hong Kong's independence movement is one example of manifesting collective agency. When protest is experienced as quasi-therapy, the official narratives of intimidation and repression only feed the loop of coping and collective action.
Another powerful example is Greta Thunberg's coping with depression and climate anxiety transformed into her worldwide Fridays for Future movement. Of course, national leaders also capitalized on the public's need to cope. The storming of the US Capitol in January 2021 is a case in point, as Donald Trump manufactured the stressor of a stolen election to summon supporters to protest in Washington, D.C.
This article contributes to the theorization of emotions in IR. Firstly, it teases out a therapeutic approach within the emotional turn of IR to establish the relevance of emotional well-being for international politics, because our emotional well-being may order us to confront rules and norms.
Secondly, our article fine-tunes the leveling up process by adding the circulation of coping responses to the scaling up pathways for collective affective experience. Emotions matter in IR, and our intervention suggests that the process of dealing with emotions is also a constitutive feature of global politics, shaping the conditions of political possibilities. The clips you saw in this video abstract are taken from the feature-length documentary Black Bohemia on the Hong Kong localism and independence movement.
Thank you.